We're wrapping up another high school basketball season, and I hope it went great for you. But odds are you're already starting to think about maybe the things you want to improve in your game for next season. So whether you had a season that things went really well for you, or maybe there were some things that didn't go so well, this is a great time of year to reflect on what you might want to work on in the off season. And since it's pretty universal that most players want to be better shooters by the time next season rolls around, we should just go ahead and start there. So I'm going to share 3 things that maybe you should focus on in the off season to help improve your shooting. Let's jump in and discuss. Welcome back to Hard Smart Together. I'm Coach Dave. I'm here every week to help basketball players become the smart, confident players that coaches love. So like I said, this is a great time of year to reflect. Why? Because as you wrap up your basketball season, your high school basketball season, it's fresh in your head. It's fresh. The things that went well for you, the things that maybe didn't go so well, the things that you can honestly just sit back and evaluate and say, I need to improve in this area of my game. Okay? So while it's fresh in your head, this is a great time to just start thinking about what you want to improve over the off season. Now, you might need a break, right? It's a long season. Maybe you're playing a spring sport, and that's okay. But right now is a good time to reflect and plan as you go forward, especially if player development is really important to you and you want to come into next season even better than you came into this season. Okay, so why not start? I'm sure there's a bunch of areas of your game that you can critique and you can say, wow, I need to get better here, I need to get better there. But let's start with shooting, because let's be honest, that's the most fun for most players, is becoming a better shooter, and that's where people like to spend their time. So I want to talk about some areas of focus that you can reflect on and say, oh, do I need to improve here with my shooting? Do I need to improve there? Or do I need to improve here? Before I get into those 3 focus areas, I always like to give you a free gift just for listening in today. So if you haven't already downloaded the 8 intangible skills coaches love to see in players, go ahead and go to the link in the description below. This is a checklist of skills. I give you some ways to work on it, and you go to that link and I will be sure to get you that free gift. Okay, so what are these 3 areas that maybe you should say, okay, I want you in the off season to work on all 3 areas, right? You should always incorporate all 3 areas of shooting into your development. But right now I want you to think, maybe this season, what was missing? What could I have worked on? So the first area is simply your shooting mechanics or your shooting form, right? And so you can, maybe a coach has talked to you through the season that you need to kind of work on your shot. Maybe you need to work on your release. Maybe you need to work on shooting on the way up. Maybe, whatever the case is, maybe your elbow's coming out on your shot. Whatever the case is, that maybe you need to do some work on your shooting mechanics. And you can watch your own film from the season to kind of look and say, how does my shot look? Am I, fading? Am I, drifting? Is my elbow coming out? And do I have, am I snapping my wrist? All the different elements of your shooting mechanics. So in order to work on that, I've got a video that I released, I don't even know how long ago, maybe about 1.5 years ago. I can put a link down in the description as well to that video that kind of breaks down the different elements of shooting in a drill that you can kind of think of the different aspects of shooting mechanics as you develop and make a habit out of having good shooting form. There are, tons of resources out there in order to work on your mechanics. And there's a ton of breakdown drills. So I would say one of the things you might want to put on your checklist of things to do over the off season is get with a coach, get with a trainer, get with somebody who really understands the breakdown of the shot, and have them work with you on some breakdown drills. You can't just show up at the gym and say, oh, I'm going to work on my shooting, and just start shooting. You should always do some types of breakdown drills. And so I'll put, like I said, I'll put a link to that video in the description below as well, that you can refresh yourself there. But I highly recommend just kind of reviewing, how are my shot mechanics? How is my shooting form? Because throughout the basketball season, maybe you didn't do a lot of like form shooting, one-handed shooting, pressure shooting, whatever the case might be. Maybe you were just going out and getting up shots. And so that's one element that can help you become a better shooter by next season. What's the second thing that you should focus on? Shot selection. Okay, this is a biggie that so many players don't focus on shot selection. And in order to have, a high basketball IQ, you should understand, what's the right shot by the right player at the right time. Okay, you need to have a real good understanding of when to shoot, when not to shoot, when you should shoot, game situations. And so we've talked a lot in past videos about this as well. Maybe I can put a link to some of these, but, understanding tempo, understanding runs, end of game situations, because you've got to understand all these situations to know what's a good shot, what's a bad shot, and what's a great shot. And what type of shot should I be looking for in this game situation? What kind of shot should I be taking personally? And so you need to increase your basketball IQ in order to become better at shot selection. One of the best ways to do that is film study, and it doesn't even need to be your game film. Okay, you can watch games on TV, you can watch, all types of game film. Watching yours is good too. But once you have a better understanding of what shots are good shots or bad shots or great shots at different times of the games, or what you should be taking, then you can start evaluating shots when you're watching basketball, when you're watching film, whether it's your film, whether it's another team's film, scout film, TV games, it doesn't matter. So that's another area that maybe you should put on your list. How was your shot selection this season, right? Did you get pulled out of the game a lot after taking a shot that you thought maybe was a good shot, but your coach had you sitting on the bench next to him because maybe it wasn't a good shot? Maybe you don't really have a firm grasp on what is a good shot and what isn't. Did you ever have, good shots just aren't shots that go in. But did you ever have an instance in a game where maybe, you take a shot and the coach is like, that's a great shot. And then you take the same shot later on in the game and the coach is like, well, what are you doing? Why would you take that shot? Because game situations matter. Time and score matters, right? Who's on a run matters. Tempo matters. There's a lot that goes into shot selection. So that might be an area that you want to focus on and improve in the off season in order to become a better shooter by next season. And then the last one is getting shots up. And how you design your shooting workouts, how much time you invest in your shooting workouts. I'll tell you, as a player, one of my biggest issues was I used to go down with the intentions of doing a shooting workout, of getting shots up. But let me tell you something, if a game broke out, it didn't matter if it was a half-court game, a full-court game, a game on another court, if a game broke out, I was ditching my shooting workout in order to go play in the game. So do you have the discipline to design a shooting workout and make a commitment to that in the off season? So maybe you reflect back on this season, throughout the season and even into last off season, and you say, you know what? I didn't get enough shots up. That's my problem. I got really great shooting mechanics. I have a really pretty good grasp on what's good shots and bad shots at different times in the game. My basketball IQ is high, but maybe you just didn't get enough shots up. So you need to decide, how good of a shooter do you want to be? And then you need to plan. Come up with a workout plan of what kind of shots you're going to get up, how many sets, how much time you're going to dedicate that. What days of the week are you going to do your shooting workout? What times are you going? You need to schedule it almost like your own practice. And you need to be consistent throughout your off season. Like I said, you might need a break from your season right now, but these are things to think about. So as you reflect on this season and you know, oh, I want to be a better shooter by the end of next season, what are the areas that you personally need to dedicate more time towards? All these areas are good to focus on, but what do you need to? Do you need work on your mechanics, on your shooting form? Do you need to understand better what good shot selection means? Do you need to get more shots up, to really dedicate yourself to designing a shooting workout, times, days, what you're going to put into it in order to get the results on the other end? So just some things to think about as you wrap up your season and you start thinking where you want to improve. We can talk about some other areas of the game and ways that you can improve those in future videos, but I wanted to start with shooting because that's the fun topic that basketball players like to talk about. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you had a great season and maybe you're still in the playoffs trying to win a state title. And if that's the case, that's awesome. Congratulations. But if this was helpful, be sure to give me a like. Be sure to give me a comment below on maybe which area in your kind of reflection of your season, which area of shooting are you going to focus the most on this off season? And until next week, remember to play hard, play smart, and play together. See you next week.